Hey YouTube, I recently finished another project on my Z06 that I wanted to talk about just quickly today. It's something a lot of guys have done with their car. It's a switch, a custom switch for the NPP exhaust to control it. Mild to wild is another name for it. I did have an LG man knob with the little toggle button on the knob previously to this project and the custom switch. So you're probably wondering why I switched out from that knob, which is kind of pricey, and it does look nice when it's installed, to a custom switch and going through all the work to do that. Well, two reasons. And I do like the LG man knob, nothing bad against it overall, but there's a nitpicky about two things. First, it's just a toggle switch, right? So you don't know what mode you're in at any given time. If you go for a drive and then you don't drive the car for a couple days and then you start it up, you kind of just got to go by your ear, or you got to hit the button, you know, once or twice to be like, oh yeah, I'm in loud mode or I'm in quiet mode. Again, that's kind of nitpicky, but it's not a toggle. It's just a plunger switch, and it just toggles on its own. You don't know exactly what mode you're in until you fiddle with it, or you can hear, if you're that good at hearing the difference from inside the car with the windows up. The second thing, which is more of a big deal to me, was the fact that the knob itself, while it looked nice, I think they cut out a lot of the insides of it for obvious reasons to get the button mechanism and the wiring inside the knob. They had to take some material out of that, which means taking weight out of the knob. And as a lot of you guys know, if you've done aftermarket shift knobs, one thing you're always looking for is a pretty good weighted knob, so you don't have any rattle or buzzing in the handle, especially when you're accelerating hard. So with the man knob from LG, I've noticed that the knob itself is lighter. You can feel it when you're shifting, that it's a little bit hollowed out, which wasn't that big of an issue, the feel of it, but it did rattle. It was a faint rattle, especially when you're going up on ramps and you're accelerating. You can kind of hear it, you know, and our cars rattle and have little noises as it is, but you know, one like this where you can hear it under certain conditions and it's always there, it gets a little annoying. So on a whim, I kind of decided, why don't I just try to sell that, get some money back out of it, and put it towards a custom switch, which is a lot cheaper. It takes more work to do it. With the man knob, you just take the console apart a little bit, take your old shift knob out, throw the new one in there, and plug in the connector into the fuse panel. It's all wired up and everything for you. So as you know, and like I said, a lot of guys done their own custom switches many different ways. You know, with the foot rest, they put a button so they can control it with their foot. They wire them through their home link visor buttons. They have the mild to wild remote control as another solution. Some guys even use the F55 dial from that console and wired it through that way, which is a pretty cool custom but OEM looking solution. I actually like that a lot, but I wasn't about to spend hundreds of dollars on a new console just for that knob. So I just went the custom switch route and followed directions and advice from various sources on the forum especially, and so we'll talk about it really quick. I did not have a chance to do the video while I was actually doing the installation. Like I said, I kind of did it on a whim. I got all the parts in and then I just decided to do it one night. It was like 10 o'clock at night and it was dark. So it wasn't ideal for a video. So we'll just go over some of the parts and go over how it turned out. First thing you obviously need is a switch. This is from Amazon. It's only $2 maybe. It's the 3-prong version, since it's not lighted. It's just a toggle on off. So it only needs the 2 prongs to complete the circuit. A one wire coming in and one wire coming out, obviously, so the toggle just, you know, stops and interrupts the signal, or it allows it through. Like I said, these are about $2. If you just go on Amazon and search for automobile toggle switch, you'll find lots of these. There's not any brands that are better than anything else. I bought a pack of 2 just in case the one I have has any issues down the road. A couple other things obviously that you'll need: some primary wire, auto wire, 16 gauge general purpose Usually red is the color it comes in for 16 gauge. You can get that from Amazon, AutoZone, whatever. That's pretty cheap too. I got 25 feet just in case I ever need anything for the future. Strippers, a good crimper. I did not have a really good crimper. I just had a basic one that is a kind of a stripper and crimper in one. I got this one from Amazon. It's GEE Gadgets. There's so many no-name things on Amazon, but a lot of the things actually work, and they're a good deal. They're not the best quality, but for the price you pay, they do just fine. This one comes with 4 other dies and crimping attachments, which is kind of nice. So you can crimp different kinds of connections, and then it comes with the screwdriver and the kit to attach and take apart those dies. But the crimper itself is really nice. Once it crimps all the way, it lets go, obviously, just like any other good quality crimper would work, and you just keep crimping until it lets go, and it works really well. And you can see the dots, red, blue, yellow, so it's kind of foolproof in terms of the size crimp you need for the wires and the connections that you are dealing with. And you need fuses, of course. The one thing I don't have pictured here for you guys is the mini add-a-fuse circuit. Those get on Amazon too, a couple bucks. It just adds a circuit for a fuse panel. Everybody's seen those before. A step drill bit to drill the hole for the switch. I think this switch was about 7/8 inch wide at its widest, but not too wide so that it obviously goes through. It has a lip on it, so take the right measurement and make sure you get that right, because if you make the hole too big, you kind of can't go back. Some Spade connectors, I'll go over that briefly. It's just to connect one wire back into the fuse for the NPP fuse connection under the passenger side. Crimper I already talked about, and then just some other connections here too. I just bought a whole terminal kit here with a lot of pieces in it. The only one we're actually going to be using out of this are these female connectors. They just go, do this with one hand, they kind of just go and connect the wire into those Spade connectors at the back of the switch. Just push on type, nothing fancy. I didn't do any soldering or anything fancy with the wires, as you'll see, but the connections are all strong and safe, and they work well. And next up, we'll go into the car and take a look at the switch installed and the fuse panel. All right, guys, we're inside the car now. Just taking a look at the console here. You can see the switch is installed pretty much right even with the heated seat controls and where the cigarette lighter would be, just to the right of that on the side of the console. Why did I go with that position? Well, as you can see, my car's an 06, so it didn't come with this carbon fiber look. It's not real carbon fiber. It didn't come with that fancier later model console. The previous owner had that put in, which I really like, obviously, with the leather sides. It's not that ugly gray plastic, but I had a choice of either punching a hole through the top section here somewhere next to the traction control button, or somewhere else that's still within arm's reach. After pulling the console up and having it all apart and looking under here, there's not a lot of cavity or airspace underneath this section on the top here. I would have had to cut out a lot of pieces. There's lots of bracing under the console. If you remember that, looking at that switch just previously, there's some depth to it. You probably need about almost an inch just for the switch, and then the wires coming off the back, you probably need another ½ an inch for the connections and the bend in the wire. So you need almost 2 inches of space just to get the switch installed and have the necessary clearances to run the wires to it. So I had the console up. It's kind of feeling underneath and all around and looking in, behind the console when it's installed, or kind of guessing where all the spaces would be. And this space right here had the most space behind it. There's literally nothing behind here until you reach, these heated seat controls. So you got a good 2.5, 3 inches back there. And that's the reason I decided on that location. The other thing about this location is it's pretty stealth. It's not right on top of the console. So it's a little bit out of the way. I'm not going to say it looks totally OEM, because it is kind of in the middle of the console. but it blends in. When I'm sitting in the driver's seat, you can see it, so you can see the position. Right now it's in the off position, so obviously that means that it's the normal OEM mode. I'm sorry, that's the opposite. Off means the OEM mode is off, which means it's in the loud position. If you turn it on, that means the OEM mode is on, so it would be mild. But from the driver's seat, you can see the position it's in. So as soon as I get in the car, I can see which mode I'm in. You can reach it no problem from the driver's seat. So, you know, reaching for the shifter and just reaching your hand over, your cup holder's here, there's a cup holder here. You can reach your finger there, and it's no problem to reach it either. So it's all within reach. Some guys put it underneath, you know, the kick panels where your knees are, the bolsters. Some people put it like over here by the glove box, underneath, or even inside the glove box. So we got to open the glove box and hit a switch. A lot of excuse me. A lot of guys say they don't hit the switch a lot. If you're running a cammed car with headers and high flow cats like I am, at least my cam profile, it drones a lot at right at 1500 RPM when I'm in the open mode. So if I'm cruising, or I'm even on the highway for 10 minutes, I flip the switch and hit it to quiet mode. I don't know if that's just because I'm getting a little older, because I used to love a loud exhaust, but I'm switching it a lot. So I didn't want it out of the way to the point where it's hard to find the damn switch, and just turn the switch and hit the mode. So I like this position where I installed it for those reasons. It's very simple. The switch is cheap, but if you do the wiring correctly and tuck it away nice, everything looks kind of OEM and looks high quality. So getting to the wiring part, let me move this light so you guys can see. Everything's tucked into the tunnel area. You know, obviously you can't see any red wire until you get to the actual fuse panel itself. I ran it up over this carpet here up the top. You can see the two wires kind of way back here. I have them taped together every couple inches since there's obviously two wires, and I just bumped the light. Let me put that light back. And I ran the wires underneath some of this fuse panel area. And what I did was I plugged the add a circuit into the heated seat fuse. So that part is fused for the heated seat, and then the add a circuit is what runs the switch. So then you just plug a little 10 amp fuse into that add a circuit, and then that's the power wire. And the other wire, the return wire from the switch, let me pull it out so you guys can see it. I'm not going to pull it all the way out to mess up my nice organization here, but I cut one side of a Spade connector off, and most of the guys do this way. If they go through the heat seat fuse, you just cut one side of the Spade connector off, and then the NPP fuse, which is this bottom right one here, you just stick that guy into the left side of that fuse, which I believe is the power side. So that's what controls and makes the NPP go on or off. Obviously, you're completing the circuit when the switch is turned on, so it runs like normal. When it's turned off, it just breaks the connection in the circuit and makes it seem like the fuse is pulled completely. So I think it turned out pretty well. It's pretty clean. Didn't add any mess or anything to it. If I just back out here again a little bit so you can see it one more time. Put the light on it one more time here. Again, it's pretty clean. It's in reach. You can see it, at least from the driver's side. I didn't have to cut into anything into the console on the top. That would have been a little nerve-wracking too, even with a step drill bit like I had. Cutting into that, you can only do that once. You only have one chance at it. I just did one step at a time and kept going. This is kind of a leather material, so it kind of frayed a little bit as I was drilling. So every step or two I would stop and I would just cut away the leather that's kind of was fraying, getting into the hole as I was cutting. But it turned out pretty well. And it actually helped the switch itself, the sides of it stay stuck, if you will, into the hole. very secure. So that a little extra material went inside the hole. So I probably had to cut it a little bit more than 7/8 inch, but once you push it in there, it's really in there really nice. It's not loose at all. It's not going to turn. It's not going to come out. So I think it turned out pretty well. Again, if you guys have any questions on the install, the parts I used, where I got them from, put in the comments and I'll be happy to reply. Thanks for watching.